the President of the United States would choose to spread lies and fear about our communities and then use the National Guard to attack them. Crime is down because of the strategic investments in community-led solutions at work. They are lying to the American people and creating a false narrative of Chicago that simply isn't true. White House occupant is a vindictive, xenophobic, and authoritarian liar.
Donald Trump is trying to ensure that we stop protesting.
I'm here today to share the anger and the disdain that all of us are feeling inside. And I know none of us thought that in the year 2025, the President of the United States would choose to spread lies and fear about our communities and then use the National Guard to attack them, attack all of us. The ignorance of this decision is staggering. At a time when crime is at an all-time low, not just here in Chicago, but across major cities in America, this administration is ignoring the truth, which unfortunately isn't a surprise anymore. Crime is down because of the strategic investments in community-led solutions at work. Our neighborhoods are safer because of these efforts, not because of troops or more reactionary policies that don't place people first. Instead of building on that progress, this administration is moving us and our work backwards. They are lying to the American people and creating a false narrative of Chicago that simply isn't true. And what worries me the most is the chilling effect that this will have on our streets, especially our immigrant families. People not going to work, families not going to grocery stores or church services, kids not going to sports or school, intentionally destabilizing our communities, which is what could lead to increase in violence. And for what? Because the White House occupant is a vindictive, xenophobic, and authoritarian liar and has his eyes set on our beautiful people and will make this incredible and welcoming state. The presence of the National Guard will not bring safety. It will bring fear, hurt small businesses, and it will traumatize and re-traumatize families who are still healing from the past harm. And it will do nothing more than feed a base of cruelty, evil, and hate. A part of why the Trust Act exists is to ensure people feel safe calling their local police about safety issues. This will end that. People experiencing domestic violence, a medical emergency, or want support from law enforcement efforts will no longer feel safe talking to local authorities. We are here to ensure that that doesn't happen and that we do everything within our power to fight back these overreaching, and dangerous efforts from this administration.
At a time when the federal government is being weaponized against its very own people, it is so important and a reminder, a powerful reminder that we're not alone when you have the General Assembly of the State of Illinois, specifically the Latino Legislative Caucus, holding the line, taking a stand for our community. So I want to thank all of you for putting this press conference together today. And I also want to say that in a time such as this, where it feels like it's overwhelming, we wake up every single morning, if you're like me, you go to check the news and what's the latest. You can become overwhelmed by another executive order. Another executive order because the president has decided that he no longer respects co-equal branches of government and he doesn't really respect the law, so he continues to issue these unconstitutional executive orders. But I am so grateful that we have electeds at every single level of government, whether it's at the state level, at the county level, or at the city level, that are holding the line in this moment. Chicago is going to be clear to this president, who tries to identify ways to be able to silence us, to silence dissent, but that the attacks on Chicago, Illinois are not about safety and security. We know that. They're about trying to terrorize the resistance, because Chicago is an organizing town, a town that understands that the only thing that makes its beautiful downtown beautiful is diversity that makes up the city of Chicago. And yet Trump and his loyalists are willing to weaponize the government against political opposition and communities because we resist these unconstitutional agendas. Deploying troops in a violent spectacle undermines the rule of law, the separation of powers, and state sovereignty. The reality is that I don't know if Trump understands what's a president and the difference between a president, a mayor, and a governor. He can't be all of them. And so I think it's important that as we're standing here today, that we are clear. We are prepared to protect our communities, and that our colleagues here, the Latino Legislative Caucus, are going to do everything in their power with our colleagues in the county and certainly with the city and us in the Illinois delegation to hold the line. I want to wrap up in saying this. Someone asked yesterday, one of the reporters asked, well, doing a protest, I know there might be a protest coming up during Labor Day, isn't that going to egg him on so that he then decides he wants to come here? Let me be very clear. Donald Trump is trying to ensure that we stop protesting. Donald Trump wants to make sure that he moves us and shoves us into submission so we stop resisting him. Not doing a rally or a protest or a press conference is exactly what he wants, and we are not going to give him that pleasure. Is that right?
That's right.
Frankly, it is the opposite, because we know we're not alone. That in these scary times, we are committed to protecting our immigrant neighbors, and we're not going to retreat. We're actually going to double down. And as Trump continues his unlawful militarization in democratic cities, I want you to remember that power is in community, in the community of leaders that are here today from various organizations. So for those of you that are asking yourself, how do I take a stand in this moment? Get connected with these organizations, whether it's ICER or OCAT, join a rapid response team, because it is our responsibility to hold the line. And as a member of the Department of Homeland Security Committee, I'm going to tell you this. Even if it's just a few of us in committee dissenting to Secretary Noem, we will continue to hold them accountable, whether it is in the courts, whether it is in detention, or it's in the White House itself. Because we understand the mission and the assignment of this moment. It is solidarity and collective liberation that will get us through it.
Our communities, including our immigrant families, are under attack. We are seeing the heartbreak of separation, not only in big cities, but in suburban communities as well. We have been hearing the stories. We have been driving around our neighborhoods doing migrant watches, because it's not just happening here, it's happening throughout the state. Children are going to school with the fear that a parent might not be there when they get home. That is just not right. Families who have lived here for decades, who pay taxes, who serve in our churches, schools, and workplaces are being torn apart. Let me tell you this is not just a policy debate. This is about humanity. This is about our neighbors who help shovel out our sidewalks during the winter, who coach our kids' soccer teams, who stand next to us at grocery stores and pray beside us in our houses of worship. When immigrant families are threatened, the fabric of our entire community unravels. And we cannot let fear divide us. We cannot allow injustice to become normalized. Illinois has the chance and the responsibility to stand firm and say, not here, not our families, not our communities. To every immigrant in the state, you belong here.
My name is Karina Villa, and I'm the Illinois State Senator of the 25th Senate District. I represent parts of DuPage, Kane, and suburban Cook County. I'm going to tell you a bit of my story, the most important thing that I want to convey to you. My story did not start the day I became a state senator. It started with my grandparents, who suffered long nights thinking of how they were going to feed their children. It started with my mother and my father, who spent so many days working relentlessly, suffering, being humiliated at work because of the color of their skin. Those parents of mine did not raise a daughter to bow down in times of adversity. They taught me to lift my head high. Look at us all here. Look at us. Look at Norma. Look at Graciela. Look at Aaron. Look at Edgar. Look at Alma. And look at Delia and Lillian and Jessica. Look at Anthony. Look at us. We are standing strong and tall because our parents did not raise us to bow down in this time. I will tell you that they raised us for this moment. And we are saying no to Donald Trump and his federal troops and his idea to send the federal troops here to our city, to our suburbs, and to our state. We will be more strong and more united than ever, all of us together, to defend our neighbors.